welcome to the Paranormal Lens podcast. My name is Chad Thomas, and that's Jamie Widener over there.
You're there and everywhere, right?
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere.
At least you're not floating away. You know, Lancaster County has gotten its share of rain the last 2 days, and
Yeah.
everything is yeah.
Well, we had our share this weekend as well, where we were. So
We did. What you want? You want to open with that, Jamie? You want to talk, or what else did you do this week?
I don't know. I think that was the high point, because we were literally at the high point.
We were.
Oof, gosh. So we talked about this over the last couple of weeks, but this weekend we went to the Haunted Crescent Horror and Paracon event out at the Crescent Sanatorium in the luxurious town of Crescent, PA, which we got to see some of. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. It was good for the first 2-ish hours, and then Mother Nature had other plans for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and given the outdoor activity that we were in, we battened down what little bit of a hatch we had and held on for dear life, and came out the other side okay. So
yeah, we did. Should I roll the clip, and then we can talk a little more about it?
Sure. I don't know how much of a clip it really is, but yes, go for it.
All right. Well, here's the clip we got.
Halfway through the Paracon. We made it this far.
That was the only 30 seconds in the entire time it was raining. There wasn't lightning and thunder right over top of us. So
And when it rained a whole bunch. So
yeah, I think by that point we were kind of thinking it was going to end soon, so we weren't holding on to things anymore, like the frame of the canopy to keep it down. But there was a time when I thought we were going to just wind up in Oz or something. I don't know.
Right, Bert. Thank you. We're glad we didn't drown too. And Heather, we're looking forward to tonight as well. So
yeah.
But anyway, just talking about the Paracon a little bit, it was a fun experience. Shout out to drawing a blank on their name,
Dark Hollow Paranormal.
Dark Hollow Paranormal. They did a great job for a short amount of time.
In a short amount of time, not 4, but it was a 6-hour event, so that, the day was long. But we understand that they had a kind of a not a last minute request, but a recent request to say, hey, can we do this? Can we do this kind of thing, like this event? And being intrepid, they said we'll figure it out, and pulled it together, and here it went. Mm-hmm. So not without a hitch. Of course, the rain was a problem,
right?
But it allowed
control that.
I mean, you can't exactly that, and it's a summer event, so you should expect it at some point.
And a shout out to them. They did have a plan. We chose to be outside because of the nature of our booth, and it worked out because we were right beside the food vendor. So it gave people a place to sit down and eat, and which was what we wanted. We wanted people to come through, but they did have a space for people to go inside if they wanted.
Yep.
They had some struggles that they posted about, but you're always going to have that with a new event. And vendors and just till you get a routine. First year's always hard. Years 2, 3, 4, they always get better. So
absolutely,
I'm hoping they keep going with it because I'd like to go back.
Yeah. Well, I think the most interesting thing about it was there was an event also that evening for a true normal investigation, but during the day you had free reign of the campus as well. So the rule was, and I love this rule because it's very much the same as it was at Trans-Allegheny, was if the door opens, you can go in.
Right.
And I remember that being the instruction. The only real true instructions we had at Trans-Allegheny was you can't force a door open if it doesn't open. Like that's the rule. Right. Same thing. If it opens, go. Yeah, and you can wander the whole campus. I mean, some buildings weren't open because they just weren't. But we were right in front of the administration building, and we had full. I wandered through. You wandered through. On our own time there. Wound up in the tunnel halfway down, got to the chapel, got all the way down to the bottom of building 2, got to see all of it, relatively easily, freely, if you will. And I wasn't alone. I have to admit, I was kind of in one area, and I was walking out, and there's the place is falling apart as you would expect, from all its years of inattention or misuse. And I'm crunching across stuff, and I come up behind two kids and their mom, and I can't not come up behind them. They're in the hallway right outside this doorway, and I have to pass by. So I get close, and the first kid turns around just in time to see me, and he jumps, and I go boo, which in turn scared the other kid and the mom.
Right. Right.
And then once we got done laughing about it, because I'm like, I'm really sorry. I was crunching as hard as I could, like
Right.
making noise. And then they kind of absorbed me for a few minutes. Like I was looking around, just poking into rooms, and they were telling me what the rooms were because they just came that way. And then they were going left, and they're like, "Are you coming?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to go this way. I'm good."
Yeah. Well, and I had the same thing. Like I didn't scare anybody, but I was looking for the tunnel and I couldn't find it, and I was
Mhm.
getting turned around and it was starting to rain. So that was before you texted me saying, "Hey, it's really starting to rain," and
Yeah.
I ran into a woman and her daughter, older woman and a daughter, probably like Ben and Alex's age.
Okay.
And I'm like, "Is this the tunnel?" And she's like, "No, but here, let me take you." So everybody there was good natured and willing to help, and it was really a really great experience. Specifically, I'm going to call out Angel. I don't know his last name,
Yeah.
but
Right.
Angel was a great guy. He was in our vendor area. He was one of the staff members there, and he just kept checking on us and making sure we had everything we needed. We were handing out drinks. He appreciated that. He actually took some pictures because he's like, "I really like what you guys are doing. We weren't there to sell anything.
Yeah.
We were just there to have discussions." And we had some great ones, but he took pictures because he really liked that idea of just being there to talk and explain and absorb.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second too.
Mhm.
So our intention at this event was to share paranormal experiences with folks, like what their stories are. And we had a 10 by 20 size booth space, which is huge,
Mhm.
right? So we had, our table, which with literature about paranormal lens on it. And then we had a lounge, for lack of a better way of calling it, because we had the I can't even talk, my gosh, paranormal lens lounge sign made.
Uh-huh.
We had three sofas, and we had a TV monitor playing with episodes, just downloaded episodes, just running through. But we
Mhm.
were just inviting folks to come and sit down with us and just chat. And it didn't hurt that we weren't more than 10 feet away from the food truck, right?
Right,
That was
exactly.
that was that was not intentional, but it worked out really well. But once you give people an opportunity to tell them about themselves or something about themselves, because we're all there for the same reason, right? We're interested in this.
Right.
The conversation starts, and in some cases they went on for quite a while. We had quite a few engagements that was like, wow, really, and of
Uh-huh.
course then you start to, it's like anybody else. You start telling stories about where you've been and where you like to go, and the questions go back and forth, and next thing you know, a good piece of time has gone by, and
Mhm.
everybody kind of leaves knowing more than they did before, which was
Right.
really all we wanted to do, is just engage and
Yeah.
share some experience.
Yeah. We met a guy from Rainsworth Lodge in Gettysburg. Opened up an opportunity for us there, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Uh,
I think so.
so we'll check that out. Met a 14-year-old girl who probably has had more paranormal experiences than you and I
Yeah,
together.
we were combined, right? Yeah,
Sh- The girl has a lot of stories, and good luck to her with everything that she's got going on.
yeah. Quite
Um,
an active home, home location is really the key, the catalyst, I think, of all of it. And not knowing what to do, in the environment. Like when something happens in your home and you're younger, you don't really have the experience yet on
right,
how to handle yourself in the situation. So we gave some advice and offered some connection, and it who knows? But
yeah,
she's got a pretty good head on her shoulders, and wasn't freaked out by it. And
right.
like, that's really cool, because not all paranormal stuff is scary. That's Hollywood, right? For the most part,
Or the
it
guy
can
who
be.
sneaks up behind you at a Paracon and
Like,
goes.
shut up, shut up.
So I did. I think I know I told you I had an experience walking through the admin building.
Okay,
Um,
yep.
as I walked in, I felt I literally felt like I was being guided or pushed ahead. Like, keep moving. You got to keep moving. Like it was I was being pushed through to make sure I got through that part of the building. Like maybe I wasn't supposed to be there, or I was supposed to be somewhere else. But coming back through didn't have any experience like that whatsoever. It was sort of interesting. So
Wow.
definitely a place I want to go investigate.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I've gleaned out of this the most too is like just going through the few buildings. It's a big place. There's a lot of buildings. With the little bit we could see, trying to stay close just in
Right.
case kind of thing. I was coming back. I went the wrong way in the basement. I thought I found the tunnel and it was a down ramp.
Hmm.
It turned out it just went to like another lower level and didn't go very, very far, but it went far enough that I had to come back, a good bit. And I
Hmm.
was almost back to the main hallway. I swore someone, first of all, say someone, poked their head out like around the corner looking down the hallway and then just turned around and went back.
Hmm.
And I thought that's kind of strange. But maybe someone's just trying to get their bearings. And then I was 7 or 8 feet from that corner, so caught up pretty quickly. And there was not a doorway right there at the corner as well. And it was up the hall a little further, like coolers, like frozen rooms, freezer rooms.
Hmm.
Um, there was no way somebody could have moved that fast; they would be gone. And there's absolutely no one there. And that was a moment of like, what was that?
Right.
You know, so there definitely felt like something was happening, or like there was some energy around us. I agree with that completely.
Oh, and I
And
had whatever whispered in my ear when we were setting up.
yeah, it's
Right,
true.
we were talking to somebody else, and I thought you would continue the conversation. I turned to you and said, "What?" And you're like, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
didn't you?
believe it. Once in a while, I don't talk. So I do
And
stuff. I promise.
it was like, I thought you said something, and you're like, "No, not me." So, but it was just like a little couple words in my ear, so it was really interesting. But
Yeah,
anyway, so it was a good weekend.
yeah. If for those if you haven't gotten to Crescent, please do. It's a pretty neat place, and be prepared for a large campus, and the time it's going to take to go through it. But
Mhm,
I could recommend it. I haven't even investigated just a bit I saw, so
mhm.
it was really cool.
And stay away from the piles of concertina wire.
Yeah, yeah. And
Lots of them.
keep an eye on the weather.
Yeah. So anyway, tonight we're here to talk about seasons 1 and 2 and
Mhm.
what we liked, shows that we liked. So we had two people who gave us some favorite episodes, so I figured I'd start with those. Then I'll give you mine, and then did you figure out any favorite episodes, Jamie?
Yes, they're all my favorites. Good night.
Uh, um, Kyle's here with us
Hey,
now.
Kyle.
So anyway, Heather, I'm going to start with Heather's. Okay. So Heather's third favorite, number 3, was season 2, episode 39. Do you remember what that was, Jamie?
It was the one right after episode 38.
Okay,
I don't know the numbers, man.
It was Portland tunnels.
I know that. I did
So
that one.
you
Okay.
did. She said, "I heard about them, but did not know the history of them. I enjoy episodes that really dig into the history of the topic. The Portland Tunnel episode was full of history and paranormal experiences. Plus, it was a very unique topic." So, anything you remember about that one, Jamie, in particular?
Well, same story, right? I knew about it, but I didn't know about it like with any detail. I think I'd seen it on a paranormal show at some point back in the day, um, and it piqued my interest. In like, really, and it's more so the criminality involved in in
Mhm.
the Shanghaiing, for lack of a better way of saying it, of kidnapping people, especially able-bodied individuals who just got a little too tipsy, you
Right,
know, coming in either in from the mines or from the lumber fields, and the idea that that could happen to anybody
right. Hmm.
in any time, really. I mean, it's just highlighted here because of uniqueness, but I'm sure this happened elsewhere as well at other port cities and other locations where people just kind of went missing. And back in the day, you couldn't call anybody, right? You couldn't text them or anything and
Right,
say, "Hey, you coming in the next day?" or whatever their shift starts. People just disappeared,
right.
and that was it. That was the end of it.
Hmm. So, all right. Heather's second favorite was, of course, it has to be my suggested topic, season 2, episode 7, Folklore of Ireland, the Puka. The Lynches love everything Ireland.
Yep.
So, So yeah, that was a fun episode to do. um, Jumping back to the Portland tunnels, Bert said that would be a heck of a road trip. Would love to get down in those tunnels.
Absolutely. Well, they're open. That's the best part of it. Like they're slowly being restored. For those, there are some that just collapsed and unstable and so forth. Not all of them are reinforced.
Right.
So some are just showing their age at this point and unsafe. So therefore, and liability is a huge part of that, right?
Right.
You can't just go wandering. And fortunately, something happens, then no one would know you're there.
Right. So.
Yeah, I mean, we get that paranormal bus we talk about all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. So the puka, there's so many stories of creatures of different lands. I don't know how many we've covered, but they're out there. Definitely worth looking into. So, and I'm sure we're going to cover many more in the next year. So.
Of course, I hope so.
So moving on to Heather's favorite episode, it has to be season 2, episode 1, the Haldeman Mansion. Haldeman was where Bert and I first met all of you, except I wasn't there yet, but that's okay. We also had many experiences there. Plus, we got to see Jerry and Melissa as guests on the podcast.
Yeah, that was a fun episode, and it was a fun experience too. Haldeman was, it's a near and dear place to me, because it's our original home base, and we're I guess as a team we got organized. As far as just how to run events, how to engage the public, and how to really lead investigations. Like it's different when you are out doing it with you and your friends, like your group,
right?
Than it is when you have guests who have put some cash down and have some skin in the game, and not everybody has the same experience level and or interest in being there.
Right.
There's always the one that's brought by the other, not knowing what they're getting into.
Right.
And
you have to know your stuff at that point. Like, you have to know what you're doing and be able to relay it to somebody else.
Exactly. That's a two building location, with the summer kitchen and the main house, and even some of the property, like just the grounds. We didn't do a whole lot outside, but you really have to be flexible and nimble and field every question, and there are lots of them, and know the history, know it well. But it was a great challenge, and I'm so happy that you guys enjoyed your experience with it.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that I never got to go to the Haldeman. So maybe someday something will change. We'll see.
Hope so. I hope so too.
But I'm going to say hi to Stefan, who joined us again.
Hey. Well, I don't know that we can afford that.
Bert said that I say Jott-Nyx buys the Haldeman and you go back there.
We're going to have to start a GoFundMe. That's it.
Definitely. So, let's see. Let's see. Moving on to Bert's favorites. Number 3, season 2, episode 35, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah.
He said, I enjoyed this episode because I was learning about a place that we were getting ready to go to and excited about going. So yeah, that was definitely, there was a lot there. There's a lot, and more than we had time to unpack. I'm sure we could almost do an episode on every building that's there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Maybe even on every floor, the way we were, unique. Each one is uniquely different.
Correct.
And with respects to the size of the place too, it's just such a massive property. Yeah, we definitely could go deeper. Maybe we should. Maybe we will.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this one's going to sound familiar. Bert's number 2 was season 2, episode 1, the Haldeman Mansion. And I'm going to throw up this comment that Heather said that she did have experiences outside of there. So, Bert said this was Heather and my first invitation out after our experience at Boobies. I took her there for a date night. This is where we met Melissa, Jerry, and the Jott-Nyx team. We loved the people in the location. We were hooked. This is where I saw my first shadow person, and Heather saw my doppelganger. We were in the summer kitchen, and I was the first person going up the steps to the second floor. As my head cleared the top of the half wall at the top of the steps, there was a dark gray face staring back at me. It startled me and I almost fell back down the steps. When I went back up, there was nobody on the second floor. Then we were on the second floor of the mansion. Heather thought she heard me call her name. She walked into the room, saw what she thought was me, and said, "What?" At that point, I walked in from a different room and asked her what she said. She looked back at the figure and it was gone. She said it looked and sounded just like me. And that was a little unsettling.
Now that poor spirit. I remember this. I remember the situation with the summer kitchen, and falling backwards down those steps is relatively easy because they're only about 8 inches wide. They're super narrow. You almost have to go up sideways. So losing your balance there would not be good. That's a crash and a burn. But that experience was one of the first where we actually had a lot of activity happening, uniquely different activity happening all around the property, between the summer kitchen and the house. So I'm glad you guys were there. You certainly, as seasoned investigators, you certainly brought your A game there, and your energy really helps bring out the activity of the location. We've seen that in other places. We've all been together as well. So that's super cool.
Mm-hmm. So Bert's number one is actually season 1, episode 52, which was the live at Booby's Brewery. And I was just chuckling because I saw Heather's comment pop up here. I don't know if I could handle 2 of Bert. Well, one would be Bert, one would be Bart. So you'd be fine.
Yeah, you got it covered. No worries. Maybe it is Bart.
Maybe.
Oh my. Oh my. There we go. We figured it out.
Yep. So season 1, episode 52, the live at Booby's Brewery. Bert says, I've always been interested in the paranormal, but this is where my personal paranormal experience started. Heather and I took a Friday night ghost tour at Booby's, given at that time by Pat Miley.
Mm-hmm.
Heather picked up a lot of stuff during the tour. After the tour, Pat, Heather, another guy, and I went back to the ballroom. It's the first time I saw her abilities in action. Without knowing the history of Booby's, Heather got the name Carl at the bar end of the ballroom. While she was talking with Carl, I was just sitting and watching. All of a sudden, I got this overwhelming feeling of sadness and started crying for no reason. Pat tried to console me by saying she's okay. I said, it's not me. I don't know why I'm crying. Then we moved to the other end of the ballroom, and Heather was sensing someone else, unknown who. This time I was getting a feeling of overwhelming anger. Pat held the K2 next to me, and it would spike to red. I didn't understand what was going on. I have always been able to pick up on people's energy, but not like this, and not from people who weren't there. This is when we found out the other guy was a psychic. He explained to me that I am an empath and that I can pick up on a spirit's energy. I didn't know what an empath was and wasn't sure if I liked the experience and not being able to control it. Later, when we were standing outside getting ready to leave, I didn't feel right. The psychic ended by cleansing me with sage, and I started crying with sadness again. When it was done, I feel better, more like myself, but totally drained. The psychic's guess was that Carl had attached himself to me, but that was one heck of an intro to the paranormal.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the brewery is definitely an interesting place, and the sense that I got just reading this is that you may have been dealing with Mary, Bert.
Mm.
I just that's what came over me when I started reading it. Mary, and maybe Eloise when you felt the anger. Maybe not. Maybe it was all Mary, but I feel like it may have been 2 separate things. But who knows? That was a while ago. But we're glad you had the experience that made you want to do more of it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to pop a comment here. So just we have an explanation for the doppelganger. That Melissa conjured Bart, and that actually isn't a doppelganger. That would be more of a tulpa. So, man, we're covering all our past catalog here on this one tonight.
We are definitely.
That's quite an interesting theory. I'll have to explore that a little bit more.
So anyway, Yeah, but we had a good time that night. It was really interesting. We were supposed to set up in the lower catacomb, but we got there. There was a wedding reception, I believe, or some sort of
Yeah,
reception.
something going
And
on.
Sam was accommodating. He's like, "Well, how about the vat room?" Which I think worked out better in
It
the
did. It
end.
really did.
It was
Yeah.
more cozy and intimate, at least for us. And we had Dave join us that night. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had people walking by like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, it,
Yeah. Well,
it was.
people from the party that we were bumped by
Uh-huh.
were very interested in what we were up to, and we're set up with cameras and equipment and so forth, and video, microphones and all that stuff. So it was, but we're tucked way back in, against the back wall. So yeah, and it did. You're right. I think it added to the atmosphere being there in that space. It's different. That room's different,
Mhm,
uniquely different every time we explore it.
mhm,
Um, and I think it brought out the best of the episode. And
mhm.
it didn't hurt to have the flashlight going off in the crevice behind us all night too. So
That's true. Yeah. So, if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. It's a pretty good one.
yeah, that made my list too, by the way. And
So,
so um,
all
very
right.
cool. Very cool.
Well, Jamie, let me go through my list, and then we'll wrap up with your list. Is that okay?
No, I could do mine. You could do yours last. It doesn't matter.
Uh, I'll go first. So,
Okay. Okay.
so my number three is season one, technically episode two, Ogopogo.
Yes.
This was our first episode where where one of us presented a topic. Our good friend David Darametti set the bar on this one, and he set it pretty high. After 4 months of planning and preparation, we were going to sink or swim. We had no idea what we were doing, but David knew his information, and we all had a great time. Yeah, like, and we were doing some other things we were doing some pre-release reels, and so there was a few other things, but we had no idea what we were getting into, how much work it would be, how much fun it would be, if anybody would watch. But we kept going, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we did. So
And Dave said, and I've said this on many episodes since then, but Dave set the bar for us that night,
yep.
with his presentation and his preparedness for that episode. And it's a subject that he knew. He has been to
Mhm.
Okanagan, actually on the lake, at the lake, and that helps, the authenticity of the experience of that episode as well. So he was ready
Right.
and game on. So set the bar for the rest of us, the
Mhm.
rest of the way through. So, which I'm sure we didn't meet ever since. Well,
Yeah, well,
we have a bar at least.
yeah, but we've been having fun, and that's the important part. So,
Sure.
my next one is season one, episode 32, Skinwalker Ranch with Steve Dills.
Yeah, Steve.
This was a great episode for several reasons. Skinwalker Ranch is an amazing and fascinating place. Steve did an outstanding job researching and presenting his information. The second reason is it gave both Jamie and I a week off preparing for an episode. Believe it or not, there is a ton of work and time that we put into each episode. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but there is.
Yeah, true.
And the third reason was just Steve Dills. Steve is such a charismatic person and a wonderful guest. If you know that he's coming on the show, go to the bathroom beforehand because it will be a longer show than normal,
We
and you
learned that the hard way.
you won't want to miss anything he says. Though he did almost get us kicked off the air since his son was running around in the background without any clothes on.
Yeah. At that age when they learn how to take the diaper off.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah. So thank you to Steve. He's made a couple appearances, and we're hoping to get him on here. We have some idea. Jamie has an idea for an episode with Steve.
Yeah. Just
that
gotta
we're
get with him. We'll
yeah.
maybe see him at the bash.
Yeah.
Chat about it.
So my next one is my number 1B. Let's see, I cheated here a little bit. Season two,
I did the same thing. So.
season 2, episode 46, The House That Built Me. It was so much fun talking about the house that I grew up in. Having Alex do the show with us was an added bonus. But I think the best part was connecting with people who had experiences in the house and finding out more details than we ever knew about it. Because it was there was so much that happened. And it was a fun show, and I enjoyed sharing my personal experiences. And to hear my dad say that we did pretty good that was a cherry on top. So.
Yeah. I agree. That's the pressure, though, right?
Mhm.
Did I do it justice? And
Right.
that's I think that's kind of the standard, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're always aiming for, is to make sure that we represent the thing that we're covering, the place, the experience, whatever it is,
Right.
to its full accuracy. And and there's
Right.
no better way of knowing than Dad saying so. So
Yeah. But I
super
mean,
cool.
we don't typically have that judge,
That's true. That's
If
true.
if we're doing, the Menahune, we don't have a Menahune sitting here going, "Oh, you didn't get that fact right."
Not that you can see.
Well, that's true. So, and then my number 1A was season 1, episode 59, which was Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Um,
Ah, okay.
Jamie, you did this episode about a place that means a lot to you, and it really showed. It's one of the places I really wanna do take a road trip to. It's that combination of history and paranormal that gets me every time. So, I'm gonna make it my goal to get there before we finish season 3.
Perfect.
So,
It's an hour and a half away.
I
It's an
know it's
easy.
so close.
You can stop at your dad's on the way and on the way back, even. Like, it's perfect. Um, yeah, that's. Thank you. It didn't make it made my list, and it didn't. So,
Uh-huh.
but I've been going to Harper's Ferry since I was a young teenager, and like 12 or 14. I guess that's teenage years. It was our family vacation, was to go to Winchester, of all places, Winchester, Virginia, which is just up the road a piece. Um, and we would always stop in and explore the town. This is really one of my first memories of like traveling too. And
Mhm.
the Hilltop House was always lunch or dinner, whatever time it was we got in, and the vista there, and just the neatness of that property. I've stayed at that hotel, in the hotel part. I can't tell you how many times I've had dinner there or food there. Best fried chicken I've ever had. Sadly, it's gone.
Mhm.
But still to this day, the best fried chicken I've ever had. That was probably 25 years ago.
Okay.
Um, things you remember.
Mhm.
It's a fond memory for me, and um, the town is just neat, the way it's located and the way it's been preserved. So if you
Yep.
get a chance, you're anywhere near this, the area, stop in, spend a day. It'll be well worth it.
Yep. Bert said they're going to Harper's Ferry in August, so
Perfect.
I
Okay.
bet they're taking the bike down.
I would think.
And
Definitely.
Heather said that she really liked that episode too. So
Oh, cool.
it,
Thanks.
it's funny how you talked about the remembering the food and stuff from a place you went to like that. I remember Captain Gus's Seafood in Williamsburg because we went there with my family,
Gotcha.
and it's one of those we went there several times on vacation, and that's where we would stop.
Yeah,
So,
that's your spot.
or Captain George's, sorry, Captain George's. Captain Gus is in Lancaster. That's a whole
Well,
different.
there could be more than one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not really sure Captain Gus is a captain, by the way. Just saying. I think it might be an honorary title.
I think he had a boat, but it wasn't really anyway.
Nicest guy in the world ever. Actually, I'm not making fun of
Yeah. Yeah.
anything there. Fantastic guy. I've got a chance to chat with him quite a few times and picking up lunch and stuff there from past life. Um, just a lot of good stuff there, and then the people, the family atmosphere of
Oh
that.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, you always get a story. It's like going into the barber shop, like the old guy barber shop. That's kind of
Mhm.
what it was like. People sitting around telling stories and carrying on with each other. It was always fun.
So, well, I read that one wrong. No bike. They're taking the kids and doing DC. So,
Oh, very cool.
so all right, Jamie. Well, that those were
You can
mine.
just float right down the Potomac. You got it going. So
Hmm.
you take the towpath.
So Jamie, those were my top 3-ish. So what do you got?
I got a lot more. I did some for each season. So,
So,
um,
and that was the thing. It was so hard to narrow it down to the top 3, or
that's why I didn't.
right.
So, season. I'll go back to season one.
Hmm.
The one thing that I have to come clean on, the Wendigo episode. Now, I didn't put the numbers down. I'm sorry, but
That's
it's
okay.
it's in the catalog. You'll find it. The reason I wanted to do this one was because, quite frankly, it scares the hell out of me. The idea that this could be something that exists out there in the wild. And the more I dug into the story, the more I really understood it. That it was a way of explaining the things that happen to people. With we'll call it cabin fever now. because of, we have cabins, but the first peoples, especially in Canada, where most of the stories come from, even though it is the northern tier of the U.S. as well. But they didn't have that sheltered place. They had their own establishments instead, but they didn't have the concept of cabin fever. They just, people got wonky in the middle of winter, and that's when resources were their scarcest. That's when it wasn't getting warm fast enough. Like spring was just so far away still, and people did things,
Right.
and they got crazy, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so the natural explanation is that this supernatural creature, they became that, and that explained their behaviors. And the fact that even if that's not it, and it is something that's literally out there, I don't want to go camping anymore, ever. Like ever.
I get that. Yep. So.
We were close enough to the woods this weekend. That was good,
Uh-huh.
But it's just one of those things that really actually scares me. So I have to come clean and admit that I don't get scared by much, and that's one it is.
That makes
just
sense.
the possibility of it. It just no.
So, jumping back to Captain Gus's quick here, Stefan says, I lived down the block from Captain Gus's.
Yes, the video games in the corner, right?
Spent many hours playing video games in the back corner.
Yes.
So, yep. So,
good times.
Wendigo was episode 44 of the first season.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next, the Red Mill.
Mm.
And I'll be honest, I never made it. I broke my foot and never made it out to, I almost died coming down the stairs at Whitehill, realizing I wasn't going to be able to climb around in a walking boot up and down all the stairs there. So I didn't make the trip for that special event we had with Daryl and Ryan and Lourdes with Statacom. And but it was such fun exploring, the place, and we met Jim that way. Which he's just been a good friend of the program ever since. But it's a place I really want to get to still, and it's still on my list of things to do. It's just I haven't had time. We got to find time sometime. You got to make time to have time.
Yeah,
and that's one of the ones that I'd like to do still, and get back or get there at all. So
Jim says, yeah.
Hey.
And that was episode 19, the first season episode.
Yeah, the introduction to it. And of course, we did the post experience as well.
Right, which was 26. Can you believe we had that many between?
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's one here that's a true indulgence.
Okay. Real quick on Red Mill, though. Bert said the log house in the back of Red Mill was really bad energy. We saw 3 shadow figures.
Ooh.
And then Jim on top of that says, more stuff been going on. Please come back.
Okay. Sure. You don't have to ask twice. So. I have a coworker who when we carry on about stuff, because he always says, you don't have to threaten me with a good time. That's motivation. You don't have to threaten me with a spooky time. I'm in. Let's go. Pack the car.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's connect on that, Jim. We can figure that out. Absolutely.
Yep.
This one is self-indulgent. Okay. And it brought a good thing as well. But I took a week off to go on assignment to Walt Disney World to do the episode on the Haunted Mansion, and that goodness that it brought was Steve and I believe Chris from his team down there to get the Hanover Tavern episode. So it was a double dip of goodness. The Haunted Mansion to me has been, again, going back to being a little kid, the place that is always just the one thing beyond all the other stuff at Disney is. It was the place that drew me every time. And I didn't, I did the video all the way through, so it's there. You can see what the ride is, at least in Florida. Florida's next for me, or I'm sorry, California's next for me to get to. So and see the differences, because they're uniquely different properties. But riding it at 12:55 a.m. on a late night late extended night, being the only guests in the building, like we literally walked in and I'm pretty sure the usher was like, oh man, one more. Getting my own doom buggy, with Steph and Zoe, was so much fun. Us going through like that, and they were having just as much fun as I was. But leaving, walking out, there's nobody anywhere nearby. It's just us leaving, and the experience of animals like wildlife coming in and like all these big birds landing and all this other stuff. There's an owl hooting. It's like it was so surreal. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not supposed to be here. It just added to the creepiness of coming out of the mansion. So
So
much fun.
yeah, that I almost mentioned that one as one of mine. And you're right, we did get hit Steve and his group with the Hanover Tavern, and they released some
It's never been seen footage, right?
So that was pretty cool to see that. They had candles, LED candles that sort of lit themselves like somebody was walking around.
Yeah,
definitely worth checking that one out.
That was very cool. Well worth it. Well worth not having me here for. So there you go.
I'm sorry you missed it. It would have been great to have you, but on assignment.
On assignment. Sometimes you have to take one for the team and go on assignment. So
yep. So
I'll do it again. Don't worry.
All right. Jim said the shutters flapped this weekend. No wind.
Ooh. Okay.
So
that's abnormal. Absolutely. Okay. Jim, I'm going to ask you for a favor, and it's a really easy one. Start a journal, start a log of some kind where you're noting stuff as it's happening or it's being reported to happen. So we have some idea, like days experience, that kind of stuff. That'll help us focus on what's going on when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And that goes for anybody, right? Like you're out there in the world, you believe you're having activity at your home, start noting it, and if you can document it, with other equipment, video camera, everybody has a cell phone anymore with a camera, still camera and then a video on it, voice recorder, if you got it, you can do that. But those are great ways to start to document, the paper trail, if you will, of the experiences you're having. And it really starts to connect the dots too when you start to really go back and review it. You can see the consistencies or the inconsistencies either way. There might be patterns. There might be opportunities that way.
You told the young lady this weekend the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's a great thing to do. And if nothing else, it proves you're not crazy. So
yeah. So
wrapping up season 1. Two quick things and then number 1. So we did 2 field trips.
We did. Mm-hmm.
We did the Hansgrohe Cemetery, which was the first time we ever went out of the our safe spaces of and we're in our homes. We're not in a studio. If you couldn't tell, and that was so much fun to go and do that. And we did our laps around the inside, the outside of the wall, the inside of the wall, even. No white werewolf, unfortunately. We did have some rustling in the brush when we got there. But and no police, so
that was an even better thing.
That was even better, and we're still here telling the tale of it. So, but that was really cool and a neat local urban legend as well. Here in Rowena, PA, just up the river from us. It was a lot of fun, and then on the whim field trip down to Fort Mifflin.
Yeah.
I remember. I think I texted you like the night before. Hey, you want to go to Fort Mifflin tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And you're like, what time? We almost had the place to ourselves because of, once again, rain.
Right.
And so much rain that we couldn't even get into the West Sally port at all because of it was above calf deep water trying to trudge in.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a limited amount of opportunity with equipment, but we had some call and response activity, and just such a vibe. And the staff were so friendly, just taking time to talk with us. We shared who we were, what we do, and the story started to come, which was the way it should be. Right.
And then Greg got there after all that. Then Greg,
and we met Greg O'Brien, who was fantastic.
Yeah.
We could have just told him we were part of the team that was coming in and just stayed. Right.
Uh-huh.
Now, if we didn't have to, we had to be somewhere. You had to be somewhere, I think. But
because I remember the kids had play practice. You're like, I'm dropping the kids off at play practice, and I'm heading over.
Yes, exactly. I was already in town, so But season 1's top episode for me is the Aokigahara Forest. For a lot of reasons. One, it's such a unique thing to exist in the world. As far as the lava fields and how nature has recovered from that. The eruption of Mount Fuji, and just become a place, that is very uniquely different than most other places in the world because of, the way the trees are growing above the lava. It's just, and it's such a density of forest and nature. Mm-hmm. But the significance of people going there to end their lives, and it's cultural to some degree in Japan. I get that. But the depth of that it still happens even now, really hit home for me. And I admitted it in the episode. There was a time when I was very low as well. So this meant a lot to me personally
Mm-hmm.
to cover this. But I got more out of that, just the stories and all of that. I got so much more out of it that than I would have ever thought of in covering it. So, not a road trip to get there. It's a plane trip and then a
Yeah.
bus trip and so forth. But, someday, some way, I'd love to get there and just explore it myself.
Mm-hmm. So before you move on to season 2, Stefan has 2 leads for us. One of these we
Stoner
talked
House,
about a
sure.
little bit. Stoner House in Mannheim Township, which is in the park there.
In the Overlook complex.
Yep. And Lancaster Cemetery off New Holland Avenue.
Yes.
So
I'm well aware of Stoner for sure. Thank you, Stefan. Well aware of Stoner. We actually had a recent conversation about it. But then the cemetery is an interesting one as well, as well as the cemetery that is off of Charlotte or Mulberry. I forget which one, between Orange and Walnut. That's another one, a really, really old one, much smaller. But both of them are. There's a lot going on in each. So yes, thank you. Okay. Well, season 2, and honestly, too, there was a 1A for me on season 1, real quick. Staticom.
oh yeah.
Right. Ron and Lourdes, Ron Yacovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez, dear friends of ours now. We didn't know them that well back then, and they were so gracious. We did an episode. You did an episode on ITC,
Mm-hmm.
which was eye opening and informative. That really set the stage for Staticom to come. And they were so gracious with all of their time. That was a very long episode for us, at least as far as what we had done so far. But the way they approach the field is in the respect they have, and the innovation that they're willing to put forward, and share.
Right.
It was just so, and it's just such nice people. And that includes, and I know Staticom isn't Staticom anymore, and I'll not go too deep there, but it led us into a conversation with Tony Rathman on the Fort Dodge Hospital,
Yep.
in Arizona, where they're
Dodge Phelps Hospital.
Dodge Phelps, I'm sorry, thank you.
Yep.
Hospital there, and he was so kind with his time as well. And obviously, we're all in the field together. Like, we have passion. We start talking, we keep talking, right? I get it. But it's led to so many cool things there with that connection. So, but the innovation is the big thing for me on Staticom. Just how they're just going at it and making it be a thing that we all can enjoy and experience. And I've been in the room with it now, finally. And every time I'm just blown away and looking forward to the next time.
The Staticom one is definitely worth checking out if you don't know anything about it. And that's episode 35 of season 1. And the Phelps Dodge episode, talk about some evidence that he's captured something on camera that will lead you to the path of believing.
Yeah. It is amazing.
So, and as Heather said, they're great people. And
I'll go back to what I said though too. Like with the respects to, if you believe you're having something happen, put a camera on. And that's what the key piece of evidence they captured was a static camera while they were sleeping. They weren't actively investigating. They weren't encouraging any activity. They were snoring, for lack of a better way of saying it, down to sleep.
In a completely different part of the building.
Yeah. And here was something that was just incredible happen. So I highly recommend checking out the episode, checking out Staticom. And Ron and Lourdes and Tony and Cherie have separated their partnership. Ron and Lourdes are now known as the Digital Seance Experience, TDSE for short. Staticom is Tony and Cherie, and 3.0 is coming there, currently running 2.0. So innovation on both sides. Wonderful, nice, great people, actually, and just keep up the good work, guys, all of you.
Yep. So cool.
All right. Well, season 2, I'll try to be briefer here.
Okay.
The one that gets me, there's 2 actually that get me. One is the episode on Robert the Doll, because of all the interaction we got with it. we did something with it on TikTok, and we got all these folks, saying, apologizing to Robert because they looked at him and didn't ask his permission. It was just part of the rules, of the engagement with him. There's just a whole lot of activity around that episode, from the listener perspective, and that was cool to see that. I don't know if it helped or not. I'm hoping it did. And we had some interaction with guests on that episode as well. With overall, again, I'll go back to Ron and Lourdes, the Queen Mary episode, which was a rather long one, but they were there and on ship, and they had their own ton of experiences. Ron, having lived in the SoCal area nearby, got to do it regularly as an investigator, which is so cool. And there's some other shared stories of things he did around the area there. But the fact they travel back still and still go investigate it. That was one of the great ideas of, hey, pick a date in the future and say we're going. Who wants to come along? I'm still holding them to that. So, guys, when you catch up to this, get that date on the calendar somewhere so we can plan. But that's let's rally and go kind of point. It was fantastic. That's
and that one was pretty cool because what happened was during the week before, I just put a plea out on Facebook of, hey, has anybody investigated? And we ended up with Ron and Lourdes, and they had pictures, and they it was meant to be, and it was good. So.
Absolutely. And hopefully more to come, right?
So,
well, next for me, and this was your episode, was on Wilson Castle.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm incredibly happy that next Friday afternoon I'm driving to Vermont to investigate with Bert and Heather and a few others to do the castle. Finally, it's been on the bucket list. Well, I don't like bucket lists, but the idea, it's been on the list of things to do for a long, long time. It's so exciting, and it just can't get here fast. I don't like to wish time to come, don't overlook anything between here and there. But this has been on the books for some time now, and we really haven't talked about it because it's not us as us, you and I, and the team overall, but it is a lot of us. So I'll share more of the experience after the fact, but getting there and doing that is going to be so cool, especially with the group of people we have. So, but it was a great episode. You covered it, you connected with the team there on the ground, and they were so willing to share information. And we've learned since then that, some things may be different than presented originally. So hopefully we can follow up on that and the post side of it and update.
Yeah, you need to see if you can touch base with Doug while you're there. And maybe we can get Doug on the show.
That's true.
If you see him,
episode
out there. Yeah.
Okay. I'll give a 1B and a 1A, and I'll be good. The 1B, the Dilatov Pass mystery. For me, that was one that I've known about for such a long time. Knew enough about it to be dangerous, but not enough to be factual. And coming through all the research, it's huge. I mean, it's been so long ago that it's been touched so many times, but it's still not explained to this day. Right? What really happened to these 11 people who just disappeared, out in the middle of nowhere, and the evidence they left behind just is so puzzling. And the world will never know really what happened. But that doesn't stop the theories and the conspiracy theories specifically.
Right. That was on my list as well. It's just, I tried to pare it down, but that was.
I didn't care. I just put everything. No, I'm kidding. I didn't worry about a short list. I just put together the top 5 or so, and then 5 became 6, and then became 7. So
that's fine.
Like I said, I liked all of them. But my overall favorite from season 2, and honestly, I think my favorite overall so far, was the episode on Hans Holzer. It's personal to me. It's near and dear. This guy is, he was the great grandfather, I guess by now, of paranormal research. For so many of us, he set the stage, he set the pace. He was willing to put himself out there in a time when it wasn't cool to do so as well. The paranormal is still a pseudoscience to many and most. But he tried so hard to legitimize so much of what he was doing for people to understand it and absorb it and accept it. And it opened a lot of doors for all of us that, sometimes we just don't realize it. We're all standing on someone else's shoulders, and they're standing on someone else's as well. But I think a lot of us are on his, and that was really nice to be able to represent that and learn a whole lot about him and his experiences as well. He only has like 7,000 books, so he wrote a book every 2 months, I think it seems.
To read through everything quickly, right?
Yeah, they're not. Well, they're all stories too. Like the way of his writing style was like a conversation, and it makes it so simple and easy to read and follow and really get the gist where he was coming from, and the actuals of all of those case files are just amazing.
So
right.
Yeah, I threw this up, but Heather said, I know I keep saying this, but I like that one too. To which
I like them all too, so it's cool.
Bird said all the episodes were great, and
thank you.
I want to echo that, Jamie. Everything that you've done, everything I've done, everything that David did, we all put our heart into this, and everybody's done a great job. And
I agree.
We're starting to, I think we're up to 2,700 views on TikTok now, Spotify. We are getting seen slowly but surely, and
33 countries now, by the way.
Yeah,
as of yesterday. I didn't look today, but that's amazing to me too. The stretch of where this is being heard or seen around the world is humbling. We're forever grateful.
And Jamie, there's some countries that I've never heard of. Like it's just you've got the typical ones that but and again, I'm not trying to show my ignorance, but Gambia, we've got that. We have well, there's one that was unknown, but there was another one that I saw the other day. I'm like, where is that? So it's pretty it's great that there's that many out there, people that are looking. Cabo Verde, and
it's an island. Actually, I know where that is. It's an island off of.
I've heard of that one.
Northwest coast of Africa. I looked that one up actually when it came in. So,
but it's great that people are interested. So,
absolutely. Well, this is why this was the motivation. Looking at this, where Spotify gives us great stuff, and Apple does too, like as far as metrics and all. But this is where the motivation came from, the inspiration, maybe a better word, for the Urban Legends International Edition episode came from, was like the stuff's happening all over the place. It's not just us here in the U.S., and we should look at everywhere, and we try to. I think we've done a really good job, between you and I and David, of going around the world, with stuff, and there's so much more than we can ever cover. That's the beauty of the paranormal field. I can say it all the time. There are no walls, really. It's so deep and wide that we'll probably never really run out of episodes. We might just run out of time to do them, like as far as us getting old, so I'm happy to keep trying and keep going. And, that's why we always ask too, at the end of every episode, like, what would you like us to cover?
Right.
If you've got a story in your area or your place where you're from, regardless of where you're from. We got a nice message after the Hold a Folk episode from someone in Iceland sharing a story about a rock near her grandparents, or her summer home, with her grandparents, and the belief that there might be Hold a Folk there. That was just nice, to get that connection. So,
yeah, I do want to say there was a killer intro on the international. Remember
a little bit of graphic action. Yeah,
and I have this idea, and it was like, yeah.
Please make this work, Chad. That's all I said.
Yeah. So. But anyway, I think we've done a lot, and there hasn't been one bad episode. Well, no, there hasn't been one bad episode.
I've probably done a dud here and there. I'm not to puff it, out too far. Let's keep it real. That's okay, and that's also why we ask for feedback and information too. Like we ask for reviews and stars and all that stuff. It's to let us know how we're doing. It's a metric. A good barometer, is public comment. If you think you're doing great, maybe you're not. So, please let us know. Reach out. We're never going to be offended. We're not going to get too high or too low on it, but we're certainly going to use it.
So just real quick to that, Paranormal Lens Podcast at gmail.com. Send us comments, questions, ideas.
Yep.
Facebook, all those ways. But Before we wrap up, Jamie, any other thoughts on the shows that we've done?
Oh my, no, I should just stop talking, right? It just thanks to everybody. Like, we otherwise we would be sitting around talking to ourselves about this kind of stuff. So we're happy and grateful to be able to share it with y'all, and knowing that you're coming along with us for this journey is we appreciate that.
Yep.
And there's more to come. Don't worry, we're not done.
And Heather, we'll get better about this. We will share responses from people in other countries or wherever they come from. It is pretty cool. So
yeah.
So, all right. Well, speaking of more to come, Jamie, that's a good segue.
Yeah. So, well, next week we are not here. Enjoy a week off. Go do something fun. Go outside. Enjoy the summer weather. Hopefully, it's not raining in your neck of the woods or where you are in the world, as it is here forever. But yeah, we'll be off a week. Chad's going to do his annual trek to volunteer for a fantastic cause. So, and I don't know how to make any of this stuff work. It's a legit true story. So, but we'll be back, but we won't be back on the 15th. So we'll post on how to find us there. But we are going to be guests on the Seekers Chronicles Paranormal Historians podcast, a group we talked last week about. Anthony Simonelli, Kim Geyer, and our dear friend Jenny Colucci have been hosting a podcast for quite a while now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were so kind to ask us to come on. We're going to talk about a place. We're not going to share it in advance because we don't want to give it away too much. But Kim does some wonderful reads in advance, and we'll discuss the place then. But it's an 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time episode, so it's a 2-hour get popcorn, get to the restroom first, all that stuff. So we're so looking forward to this. That it's again something we've known we're going to do for quite a while. We just haven't been able to put it on the books here. They're not giving too much away. So, and we didn't really know how it was going to work yet. So now we do. Coming up after that on July 22nd, it's an actual real episode. We're back officially, and I'm going to take on the mighty Thunderbird of Native American lore. After that, Chad's going to tackle the Annabelle doll, maybe physically. I don't know.
No.
Okay, yeah, you're not that brave.
I mean, I can go to Gettysburg because isn't it coming to Gettysburg soon, or was it just here?
She usually makes appearance at the bash, so yes. Okay. So yeah, you will see her there. And then after that, and once we get into August already, Savannah, Georgia, which might be America's most haunted city. I think we'll have to put the Pepsi challenge on this to go against New Orleans. But
I was going to say, Jamie, you claimed that New Orleans was
New Orleans claims it is. That's all I'm saying. So Savannah does as well. So what a good battle right there, right? Who's more haunted? I guess we're going to find out.
All right,
and more after that, of course, too. So lots to come. I mentioned, here's the 15th, the special time at 8 p.m. We're going to be guests again on the Seekers Paranormal Chronicles. Oh my gosh, there's so much words in that title. I love it, but I just can't say it. But there's the gang there. Such good friends. We're gonna have fun.
Yep.
And some stuff for us. We have an event coming up on July 26th. That is sold out at this point. So no more tickets are available there, but coming up on August 16th, September 27th. September 27th is like the start of spooky season, right? We could say that. So tickets are still there.
Aren't we already in spooky season, Jamie?
It's always spooky season on Paranormal Lens.
I think you have to get through July 4th, and then it's spooky season.
That's when the Christmas stuff comes out, so it might as well be. Jeez. Every year it gets sooner and sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're there at that point. So the fall weather is here. It's officially fall by that point. The apple cider is out and the pumpkins are starting to show up. So get your tickets now. But October 11th and 18th, a back-to-back week for us at the brewery. It is definitely spooky season. Mm-hmm. And then November 8th, and we'll have another December event to wrap out the year. We'll get it up and we have some more screen space here. So more to come on that, but tickets are available for everything other than July 26th. So if you're anywhere near South Central Pennsylvania and Mount Joy, PA area, come and visit with us and let's investigate. Let's go do it.
It's because it's more fun when you stay over.
Yes, it is. All right, here's how to find us. Obviously, you found us here tonight in this very live episode, Facebook or YouTube. But we also can be found on. Oh, what is all this? You got to find a bigger font for me, man. I put my glasses on and everything. I still can't read this. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and all of it gets tied together. We had some really nice cards made, which we'll have at our events with a QR code on the back that went to the link tree. So linktr.ee/paranormal lens brings up all of our stuff, all the ways to connect with us, including the Paranormal Lens store. Which is a new thing. So there's some items we've created to be available should you wish. That slathers our logo all over them. So yay! So you can carry us around with you if you wish.
Yep. If you, I don't know what you want to, but
not just in your ears, but also in your hands.
So, well, as Bert said, what will we do without you for that week off?
Go outside, man. Seriously, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know you guys do anyway, but you'll be fine. I promise. You can just you'll be good. No worries.
So,
I think. I hope.
They'll survive. I know.
Yeah. So. You can just rewatch old episodes. There you go. You got a list tonight, so some catch up. Well, Chad, how did we go an hour and 6 minutes? And
I'm not sure. How did we do that?
Always, we joke about this a lot, but every time we say, well, this is going to be a short one, looking at the information we have to present, it's always an hour and something. So, never fails.
Yep. So, well, we're putting a wrap on season 2, Jamie. So,
yeah.
So, thank you again for everything you've done for the show. Putting it through.
Dude, I go up and talk. You make all this magic happen. Thank you.
No, but there's the other side of it, like the booth. You put that together this past weekend, and that was all you. Like we all have our strengths, and we so we that's why we have a team, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's very cool. Thank you. Yeah, and this was a lot of fun. We hope we're going to see folks out in the field a little bit more. We're going to investigate, pun intended, doing some more Paracons and some other outside engagement, just to sit and chat with everybody. And everybody's got a story, and we would love to hear it. So even if it's not out there in the world somewhere, if it's here, you've got a story or an experience to share, send us a message. We'll be happy to talk about it, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean something that makes it on the air. But we're all connected, and we're all in this together. So let's commingle a little bit.
Yeah. And any other thoughts, or is that it?
I think we're good. Yeah, I guess I got to stop talking at some point, right? So
yeah. So.
And there's Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie is in the background. So
perfect. It's our third partner tonight, or every night, actually.
So, well, on that note, again, thanks everybody. We will see you in 2 weeks if you tune into the show that we're going to be on. I'm not going to try to remember it at this point because we don't have it up on the screen. The Paranormal Historians, they're a great team. So we'll see you then. Until then, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night.